Okay, shall we move on to the obvious? Matt Scrafton, don't know who he is, assume a journalist, judging by his profile picture, tweeted yesterday saying that Miron Muslic on quote on Morgan Whittaker's absence. He said, "It's not for me to say if he has a future at Plymouth, but we need players who really want to play for Argyle. If they don't want to play, they're in the wrong place." Sam Down, you normally have an opinion on most things. Morgan Whittaker's no-show. Well, it was a show because he was there, but, late show. Thoughts?
Okay, my first thought, before we get too emotive about it, and I'm not saying there's not a place for that, is I think we need to clarify possibly a little bit more detail on the exact nature of what happened. Because Miron's wording was he was selected, he was okay to play, but he didn't turn up. So he did physically turn up at the stadium. We saw him at the stand. So is it the case that because what I think there is a plausible good faith explanation is that he turned up late, like with Aubameyang with Arsenal that time, like what Arteta said to him, right, you turn up late, you're not playing. So is that what happened? Or is it just the case that he's absolutely flat out refused to play? Because
that's how Szczesny got a game in midweek in the Champions League, and that went really well for Barcelona as well. So
yeah, because I honestly think if he's flat out refused to play, my logic is why would you then go and bother turning up and sitting in the box and getting pelters from Argyle staff and colleagues all evening? So I wonder if it is genuinely a thing where he's turned up late or he's texted to say I was going to turn up late, and as a punishment for that he's been dropped from the squad. Maybe. So because he did physically turn up, that perhaps it might be a language mishap, possibly. Maybe that's what comes to it. But he was physically in the ground, so it's not like he's just absolutely gone AWOL. So I think there could be a bit more clarity what's happened. And I think this is maybe like 60 or 70% likely what's happened. If it is the case, he's genuinely said, I'm refusing to play because I don't want to play because I'm going, then it's wrong. It's a breach of contract and it's wrong. And he deserves a big fine for it. And we're going to sell him, but that much has been obvious for weeks with what Muslic was saying to the media, what Hallett's been saying to the media. And now, obviously...
If you think about it, if we fine him 2 weeks' wages as well, we could put that into the transfer budget. So that's a win-win all round.
Yeah, well, but look, he was called out. Muslic called him out. Edwards called him out. So yeah, I'm trying to play devil's advocate to an extent. I agree. What probably happened is he refused to play. Maybe we'll get a full clarifying statement, or it will all come out in the wash as time goes on. If he refused to play, it's wrong. You have to sit whatever frustrated you are, however angry you are. You sign a contract, you have to stick by it. That's a matter of personal honour. And if he's not done that, then he should be ashamed of himself for that instance. I'll agree on that. But I'm sorry. I'm going to try and see it from his point of view a little bit. He has been absolutely shat on by a great height from this football club over the past couple of years. Foster completely had the style of play that wasn't at all suited to him. Then Rooney, we hired Rooney, which is, for all the reasons we talk about Rooney being a bad pick, which I won't, go over all of them again because they're too many to mention. He literally had a very bad record of falling out with, publicly bombing out Morgan Whittaker out of Derby. So why would you appoint someone who's got bad history with our best player? Or even if he was a good pick in every other way, that would be enough of a reason to be a red flag. The fact he had a terrible CV and he had bad history with our best player was wrong. So he didn't do well in the Rooney. We obviously, denied a bid for him in August. I don't think he clearly wanted to go. Fair enough. That's our prerogative to do so. We're the club who owns him. But we've kept him in this bad situation. We've not played a style of play. We've not had a manager to get the best out of him. And I'm sorry, the amount of rubbish he gets from the crowd at times is terrible. He will get more, in a game, none of those bad home games like Preston, Watford, get games like that earlier in the season, where a lot of players were having a bad game, a lot of stuff went wrong. He would get such a louder jeer or boo or, groaning noise of frustration when he does something wrong to anyone else. And Argyle fans have got this thing. They don't like a player who's a bit mercurial and a bit talented. They love somebody who was going to charge around like a bull and press and win tackles. And there's a place for that. But I think Argyle fans have really got on Morgan's back a lot the last year. And I think that's played into his mindset. And yeah, people are saying that I'm in the comments are not agreeing with me. They're saying I'm trying to excuse what he did. I'm not trying to excuse what he did. I'm trying to understand how he got into such a bad headspace that he felt compelled to do that, or, you know, at the very least that he felt even crossed his mind to do that. Saying something, no, if he's done a wrong thing, I'm not denying he's done a wrong thing, but if he's done something wrong, that doesn't mean that there's no mitigation behind it. It doesn't mean there's no vacuum behind it. And I just think that he's clearly frustrated and he wants to go. And quite frankly, I'm sorry, but have all four of us not been, it's very amusing comments coming up. The audio listeners really are missing out. I'm sorry, but have all four of us not been spending the last 40 minutes talking about what a shambles we are? If you were in that shambles and you were the best player in that shambles, would you not want to get out? I would. If I was turning up and there was this total lack of standards, total lack of quality around me, I'd want to get out. I wouldn't do what he did. I'll give you that. But I would understand.
Why haven't you switched podcast then?
You can't argue on the one hand that it's reasonable for him to want to get out of a club where the standards are poor, and then he's the one displaying risibly poor standards allegedly by not turning up for the game. That's a total contradiction.
Well, yeah, but again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that it's a mitigating factor.
I don't think it is. I just don't think it is at all. Sorry,
Sam. I can't let you carry on. I'm afraid I can't.
Thanks, Graham. Go on. What are your thoughts on the Morgan Whittaker situation?
Well, the one fact we know, I think, is he turned up late, certainly later than the normal arrival time, which is at least an hour and a half before the game. That's fact. We were told he was in the squad to play, in the team to play. That's fact. Why he turned up late and whether he had a conversation or otherwise with Miron and things were said, we don't know. But let's be honest, if we look at his performances this season compared to last, how many games can you say he was our star player? How many games can you say he worked his hardest for the team in trying circumstances? And I'd say particularly at home, how many times has he rung back and challenged? He showed signs of it now and again. But I can't say, and last season, phenomenal. But to be fair again, virtually every shot he hit went in. It was step in, bend, whack, goal. I mean, how many times did you do that in the first half of last season? Championship sides got wise, doubled up on him. This season, it's easier to stop him. Just two players around him. He can't step in. When you look at the goal he scored at Brentford, Wisser, that was the most amazing non-competitive position. He just stood there and let him pass. He walked straight past him. So any other player in any other circumstance would have challenged him and he wouldn't have scored. He just has not been worthy of the acclaim that you've given him, Sam, this season. I'm sorry, he hasn't. And I know he's a fragile individual, and I appreciate that. But we are in a position where we need everybody top of their game, fighting for the cause. And I can't see that he's done that this season. I genuinely can't. I'm amazed that other teams are seriously considering him. I mean, his value, crikey, what was it speculatively last season? What offer did we get? Reputedly, did we ever get the offer that Burnley offered him? 12? Was it 12 million? Oh, this 12 million? Don't know. Last day of the window, that was no good to us. I mean, what's his value now? Seriously? If we get 5, we'll have to take it, won't we? Is he ever going to play for us again under the current head coach? He can't. He can't. No, if he's done what he said has been done, I can't say, yeah, you're a good player, all right, it's misunderstanding. You did what you did. He knows the reasons why he did it. No explanation for him, nothing compensatory that he said or is all a misunderstanding or anything. He wants out. let's facilitate it as soon as possible and try and reinvest the money on somebody who really wants to play for us and do the very best.
I take a exactly middle position between the two of you. I think Graham, you're a bit hard. Yeah, shocked, sitting on fence, shock. I think it's a bit harsh to say that he's not worthy of the acclaim Sam has given him. It's obviously true that
this season, I'd say.
Of course. It's obviously true that he's tailed off since the first 6 months with us, but I think that was a period where clearly he was playing absolutely out of his skin, and also crucially where he had another attacking threat alongside him who would divide defence's attention and would sort of play off him. And I think obviously that helped bring the best out of him, and he's clearly a confidence player. I don't think it's particularly his fault that he's getting double marked, and I don't think it's necessarily a lack of quality that he can't get out of those types of situation. I think it's much more that he needs other quality players around him so that they can draw defenders, or that, you know, if Whittaker gets double marked, then that means you're not double marking someone else. And we haven't had, since Azaz left, another attacking threat. And we've had some okay attacking players this season in that midfield area, but no one who is comparably good enough to sort of mitigate that, him being marked out of games. And you're right, you are right about the Brentford goal. I mean, it was a great goal, but it was very reminiscent of, they clearly either didn't do their homework or didn't execute the type of goal that he was scoring for fun at the beginning of last season. It is, as you say, easy to stop him playing like that, but I don't think that makes him a bad player. And I also don't think it necessarily negates his transfer value all that much. I think if we were hearing 15 million being sort of bartered around last January, I'd say that's absolutely absurdly high. But I think in the modern market, he is way more than a £5 million player still. And I would not be minded to accept a £5 million offer even now. I think we could get something comparable to that in the summer for him, to be honest.
Only if two teams want, you need a competitive situation, which we didn't have with Coops, did we? Only one team wanted him. We have to have a competitive situation.
But I think there will be.
I know Middlesbrough got that 18 million from the sale of to the MLS. Was it Lafay, the player? So they've got the money. Can you see them spending something like 10 million on Morgan? Really?
Maybe not 10, but certainly more than 5.
No, they've got us over a barrel, don't they? They know that with how the situation occurred. No, and I agree. And look, the one thing I do agree on, I don't really agree with all you said. The one thing I do agree on is we've got to get this done and get him gone quick. Just because ultimately there's no way back now. And you know what? Honestly,
I don't necessarily accept that though. I think I was going to come on to this. I could absolutely see a world in which he stays beyond the end of he doesn't play again in January. You know, the sort of expectation is that he's off, but we don't get an offer that we feel matches our valuation of him or that makes any sense to do, or it falls through or whatever. You've seen situations like this before with players where it looks like they're done and then they have a clear the air talk with the manager. They, you know, agree maybe that there was bad behaviour that went on, possibly on both sides, possibly just on the one. You're here, you may as well fight towards the, you know, through to the end of the season, then we'll reevaluate in the summer. I could see that happening. For me, I think what is clear, we had this conversation last night, or certainly I had this conversation with Sam, is that we should have sold him in the summer. I think his value would have been at least as much as what we're liable to get for him this window, if not more. And if we had sold him early in the window in the summer, we could have used that money to sign less good players, but who are better, much better than the players we have in other positions who are way off it. I don't think that's a hindsight take. You know, I've criticised the argument that we should have signed Finn Azaz on a permanent last summer as being quite hindsight dependent. I think actually Sam, me, I can't remember who else, other members of Argyle Life all said after that whole game when we stayed up, right, now cash in on Whittaker. Thank you for your service to the club, but you know, your sort of gift to us will be granting us the ability to spend £1 to £2 million in positions all over the pitch. For whatever reason, we didn't do that. It's possible the offers didn't come through until it was too late to re-spend the money. I'm not necessarily going to sit here and indict the club for that, but like, you know, it's a shame that he didn't go in the summer and that it's come to this. I guess so I've sort of done the bit where I disagree with Graham a little bit. To disagree with Sam, though, if you're a professional footballer, I don't really care if you're getting abused from the stands. I don't really care if you feel the club is a shambles. You are well paid to do a job that most people would kill to do. You turn up and you turn up on time and you play until you are contractually out of the door. Let alone, as many of the comments have said, that this behaviour wouldn't fly in jobs that people would hardly consider to be their dream job, right? This is not the sort of behaviour you get away with in any business really in the world. I know you haven't condoned it per se, but you're sort of like, So you're sort of creating an atmosphere of exclusion or excuses around it by saying that you understand where he's coming from. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's relevant. I just don't think it's relevant at all. These are separate things. I don't entirely disagree with your case for why he should be feeling frustrated here at the moment, but I completely disagree with the idea that then remotely enters into the conversation of justifying him not showing up for work, which is what he's allegedly done. Again, like, to be clear, we don't know all of the circumstances, but going off what the manager has publicly said, that appears to be what happened. So it's just not good enough, and it's desperately disappointing. I don't think it necessarily spells the end of his career here for the reasons that I've outlined, but I do think it is now, much more likely than not that he will go before the end of the window. And I just hope that we can get a fee out of it that is worthwhile for us.
I mean, there have been times like Nonto at Leeds where a player has really wanted away, has said he wants to go, and could it happen in theory? Yes. I don't think it will. And honestly, I like to think that Miran Mudlic, from all I've seen of him, is the kind of guy who, if Morgan did come up and say, "Look, I effed up. I'm sorry. I'm putting my hands up. I'm going to work hard." I'd like to think that Miran Mudlic is the kind of guy who would give him another chance. But I just don't think that's happening. I just think, because let's be honest, we all thought he was close to move anyway, even before what happened last night. So that's just going to push him on even more, isn't it?
As Joe would say, Sam, this is a family-friendly pod. Please do not say effed up. Thank you. Really quickly, just give us a figure of what you would expect, or what you would take as your lowest, and which club you prefer him to go to out of Burnley and Boro. John.
7.5 now after last night. I would have said 8 plus add-ons. I think after last night, I'm prepared to lower that a little bit because he clearly doesn't want to be here, or so it seems. I'd say 7.5. I would still want there to be add-ons though for promotion clauses and other things. Because don't forget, a large portion of that money is going to go to Swansea. So
not a large proportion, John. Not a large.
25%.
25%.
Yeah, I think that's a large proportion. It's not the majority of the fee, but that's a quarter of the amount is a lot, right?
Yeah.
It significantly eats into the profit that we're making.
Well,
I think it's reasonable to expect this sort of fee, by the way. And I just wanted to push back on something you said quickly. I think it's a different situation to Cooper. I think 2 million for Cooper was a disgrace. Don't get me wrong, but I think the market for attacking players is more inflated than the market for goalkeepers. Whittaker does not currently have 1 year left on his contract, and he does not have a comparable recent injury history. And I think that and also he just reputationally had that unbelievable 6 months, which I think he's still dining out of to some extent. Cooper was basically an unknown goalkeeper while he was here, and it's been amusing and frustrating to watch everyone in the Championship discover that he's the best keeper in the league, or certainly up there in the top 2 this season, when he was doing that last season when he was fit for spells and people didn't really pay attention to him because he played for us. Whittaker's not like that. Whittaker is the one player who, if you asked anyone who remotely follows league football in this country who plays for Plymouth Argyle, they would say Morgan Whittaker. And that is not like scientific in the way that parlays into transfer value, but I do think that combined with the other factors means that we should still be looking closer to 10 than to 5, and certainly with add-ons much closer to 10 than 5. But yeah, I'd be prepared to budge down a little bit on what I may have said 2 or 3 weeks ago based on circumstance.
Yeah, I agree entirely with you, John, but I do worry. I'm worried about the lack of competition for his services. We don't know whether generally Burnley want to come back. How strong is the Middlesbrough line? Don't forget there was that false tweet about him going to Birmingham, and I mean there's so much rumour and speculation, none of which seems to be founded with fact. So we're hoping that there's 2 clubs after him, so we can get a competitive situation. If we do, 7.5 plus add-ons might do it. If we don't get a competitive situation why isn't he? Does anybody know whether are they reporting in for training today? Does anybody know whether he was there?
Well, I do know that the club flew to Sunderland today because they want to avoid the forecast tomorrow with storm. So
was he on the plane? I mean, crikey, where's our spies when you need them?
Wouldn't want that game to be postponed, would you? God forbid.